on Motorsport Radio, and this is a brand new show here on a Tuesday night. Not saying that we're going to do this every Tuesday night, but at least for the next couple of weeks anyway, because it's going to get quite heated in the touring car world. And we don't just mean BTCC, no, because we have Mr. TCR Guru, Mr. Phil Kinch, with us. Hello, good evening, Phil.
Good evening, sir. How are we?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I can't complain so far, he says. Looking forward to another exciting weekend of touring car racing.
Exactly, yes. We've got loads of stuff coming up, as well as our other guest as well, Mr. Stuart Richards. Hello there.
Hi, Lester. How's it going?
Very well. Thank you very much for coming back on the show with us. We previously did this show as a pre-record, just to basically just test to make sure that we were knew what we were all doing. And Stuart and Phil, both members of the Checkered Flag, even though I can't write the Checkered Flag properly because it's an awkward one. But check them out online and their scribblings. And you, Stuart, just to inform people about what you usually write about, it's touring cars and a bit of TOCA support.
It's mainly the British touring cars and the Renault Clio Cup.
Yes.
So it's all good stuff.
And Phil Kinch, as a lot of people tuning in right now will probably already know, that Phil is, amongst other things, a World Rallycross expert. But none of that tonight, Phil, because he's also known as the TCR Guru, and rightly so.
Indeed, yes. I'm sticking with the touring car side of my reporting this evening. So, if you don't know already, because you're not a regular viewer, then I am a very, very big fan and follower of TCR series racing around the world. And I'll name drop a few series. So, if you watch the FIA World Touring Car Cup, if you watch the TCR Europe series, if you're a fan in the UK and you watch the TCR UK series, or any other of the domestic TCR series that are out there, then I'm following it. And just to throw in and really make myself sound terribly old, I've been watching the British Touring Car Championship since 1988. So a little bit of knowledge and a bit of fandom there as well.
And yeah, I suppose that would 1988. That's at least as old as Stuart, anyway. I think probably.
I'll take your word for that.
Fair enough. Anyway,
I'm speechless.
We are live this evening here on Motorsport Radio. Hello and welcome. If you would like to just check that we are definitely live, you can send us a message tonight. It's at MSport Radio on Twitter, because we're streaming on there right now. And we're also streaming live on the Facebooks and on our website, motorsport.radio, where you can also download later on an audio version of this show to take with you, maybe as you're on your way down to Brands Hatch. So if you don't fancy sitting and tuned in right now to possible full packed hours of high controversy and debate and opinion, then you can always download us. It's great, if I say so myself. Anyway, on tonight's show then, coming up, we will be previewing the big BTCC finale at Brands Hatch this weekend. Who deserves to win? That's tonight's big question. Who deserves to win? Could it be Mr. Chilton, in your opinion, or Mr. Ingram, or Mr. Turkington? Let us know your thoughts. I'm keeping out of it, personally. I have no opinion officially on that, but we will welcome...
You're going to sit on the fence again, aren't you?
Right,
you're
directly in the middle of the fence. And
right in the middle of the fence.
Hello, all the Facebook BTCC groups tuned in right now. Hello. Who are more than welcome. And we'll relay your nice, clean, unoffensive, non-slanderous comments. We'll try and find at least one of them anyway, and if we do find one of them, we will pick out the best ones, I suppose. But basically, we don't have many rules. Just keep it clean. Just be nice, really. We do welcome alternative opinions. You don't just have to agree with what Phil and Stuart say tonight. We welcome a bit of disagreement, a bit of friendly banter, let's say. But amongst other things, we will also be talking about the World Touring Car Championship. I was just blocking a sneeze then, sorry. World Touring Car Championship and TCR Europe as well. And why are we talking about TCR Europe? Well, not because of the fact that a lot of the big names from TCR, the WTCR Championship and TCR fame and BTCC recent fame are racing in TCR Europe, but also because there was a very dramatic incident involving a well-known driver who got into a big fight. We'll tell you more about that later. Hello, good evening if you're tuned in to us. You know who you are. But we will get on to TCR Europe a bit later. But first, I suppose, because we're previewing all things touring cars, not just BTCC, I'm sorry, guys. But yeah, it's literally everything here. We are almost a democracy, almost. We will start off the show by talking about the BTCC this weekend at Brands Hatch. And Phil, we'll start off with you then. I suppose we could ask, well, who will win the championship this weekend?
So I find myself split on this one. Almost three ways, I'll be honest, as well. So that's a first for many a year. So on the one side, I would happily see Colin Turkington take another title in the series, because I'll be honest, I'm a bit of a fan of Mr. Turkington, not just because of his exploits in British touring cars, but also because he's had a go at overseas touring car racing as well. And also, I think he's been the real deal. He's been slowly and quietly collecting points during the year and making sure that he's, kept himself in the battle. I'll be honest, the whole Knockhill situation, which I'm sure Stuart and I will discuss at length, both on and off air, will come into this as well. But on the one side, I'd love to see Colin win. On the other side, I'd love to see Tom Ingram win, because purely and simply, Tom has shown some amazing spirit this year. His comeback drives, which we'll come to later on, during several races, have been amazing. And he's got the fighting spirit. I think he's after definitely securing his first crown. And it's great to see a new champion in the field for a championship that is so competitive, where it is very difficult to win titles when you're up against the various, success ballast, reverse grids, all the various gimmicks that the series uses. It's very difficult to maintain a consistent point scoring level and get in the fight. The third side of me, I'd love to see Chilton win it. I don't think he's going to, unless something major happens to both Ingram and Turkington, but Tom's done really well in the Focus. He's really pushed hard in a really good car this season, and I would say he'd be very deserving. But I think it's going to be Ingram and Turkington that are going to do. So unfortunately, I am split 50-50. I'm not sitting on the fence like Lester would. But
you're not sitting on the fence. It's just that you can't decide which one you're going to. It's totally 50-50. That's
I'm
excellent.
Happy
well
to
done, Phil.
Yeah, it's gone well. I'm happy to see either win in that case, and I feel both have a case for winning the title. Okay, and
Stuart?
Yeah, I probably have to agree with the same as Phil, but in situations like this, I always have, if there's two certain contenders, obviously Chilton's there, but I agree with Phil, he's got to have wicked luck to be able to win it. So I've always said that my head goes with Colin Turkington, my heart goes with Tom Ingram. It'll be Colin has been the most what's the word, more consistent over the year. Tom Ingram, his comeback drives have been amazing, but he wouldn't have had to have done those comeback drives if it wasn't for retirement in the first race. And I think those will be the ones that have will affect him come the end of the year. It'd be great to see him win it, but I think Colin Turkington, I'm 90% sure it'll be Colin Turkington's title.
We will get on to talking a bit about Mr. Ingram's comeback drives a bit later in this BTCC sort of preview. But I noticed that there was other things as well that Phil potentially. Now we were talking just off air, and he was maybe mentioning about 2019 as well, and Mike Bushell in particular, Phil.
So yes, Mike Bushell is the first confirmed driver returning for 2019. He confirmed his drive for next year with Team Hard. So he's staying with Tony Gillam's squad and will be driving one of the Volkswagen CCs again. Mike, to be honest, has been, I think, the best of the Team Hard squad this season. And certainly they've had their sort of merry-go-round of drivers towards the end of the year, which whilst it's good to see good talent, it's difficult to maintain a consistent level. So Mike, like I say, he showed well at Rockingham, and he showed a lot of pace at Silverstone in situations of practice where the CC has got the speed and is ideally suited to a fast circuit like Silverstone. So, yep, all being well, he's already signed up, he's there, and it hopefully should be a case of he should be able to return and fight, and consistency, experience, it seems to count for a lot in the British Touring Car Championship. So yeah, all the best to Mike in a car that he's familiar with, and if the team can turn around their fortunes after what's been I think you could say a difficult year, then he's definitely going to be one to watch.
And I mean, Mike's someone that I think he's I wouldn't say. Well, I don't know. Is he? Do you think, Stuart? Is he universally loved? I would suggest perhaps he is.
So well, the results he's been showing, and at that team as well, he's obviously well liked, and when his results at Rockingham were very popular, as were when he qualified, and I think it was the third row at Rockingham as well. There's no coincidence that his results started to turn when when it became known that it was him that was engineering the car. He's ever since that sort of like information came out, he's been up near the front. Like he was P2 in practice 1 for Silverstone, then P1 in practice 2 as well. So more power to him, and it's great to see a driver like him returning to the series next year as well.
Absolutely. And if you have any opinions on anything that we're talking about this evening, then you can get in touch with us. We are live right now. It's Touring Car Talk, the first ever on Motorsport Radio. Hello and good evening. My name is Lester. We have our all-star panel of Stuart Richards and Phil Kinch here with us. Hello. Good evening, guys.
Good evening.
Just thought I'd say, just for people who turned up late, you see, you're late. Hello to Paul Clark from Stopwatch Hospitality, who's tuned in right now. Hello, good evening, Paul. I saw him at the weekend at Donington Park as he was busy hospitalitying. Hospitably. He provides some great hospitality anyway at Brands Hatch, most notably. And hello to Amy Makin as well. Hello, good evening, and a big hello to Shaka Anderson, a regular Motorsport Radio listener, and to a lot of other people who we've already pre-promoted, I would say, yesterday when we announced that we were going to go live. You can blame Phil for effectively spamming all of Facebook.
I'm happy to share. I don't call it spamming, I call it happy to share. Unfortunately, I find myself in many groups. So
exactly. So and you are the official TCR guru.
Well, there's that as well.
Is that an official thing now? Are we allowed to mention that? Because I just did.
I believe it's a name I'm sticking with. A lot of people will follow me will already know anyway. So, and it's something I've been going with for quite some time. So yes, I'll stick with TCR Guru. Okay. God knows I follow enough of it, as the good wife will attest to the amount of TCR stuff I was following at the weekend. Yes, not just TCR Europe, several other things as well.
Indeed, yes. I won't get into your domestic disputes about how many different championships you watch and how it affects various things. We'll just say TCR Guru and leave it at that for now anyway. But yeah, since we were talking about 2019 anyway, I suppose it's only fair to go on and mention the calendar. If you don't know already, you should do. But calendar was announced quite a while ago in the BTCC anyway. And tell us more, Phil.
So it's a bit of a shake-up in the calendar compared to recent seasons. As a lot of fans that will know, for those that don't know, Rockingham is no longer going to be part of the series in 2019. This is due to, as I understand it, housing developers taking ownership of the circuit, and in that situation, the circuit itself will, like I say, go into administration, and its future is unknown, unfortunately, from there. So in return, we get, as you can all see on the screen, we get a second visit to Thruxton during the year.
Is that a good thing?
I'll be honest, I think it is because from a Dunlop point of view, they work very hard on their Thruxton specific tyre that they have, so it gets 2 outings, and it also gives teams data as well. It gives them a sort of data they can learn from and a second chance to try and improve on previous performances. So,
and also it gives the drivers an extra chance to complain about Thruxton, because we all know they love to complain.
Yes, we'll go racing at the fastest circuit on the calendar, and then we'll complain because we're having a difficult time with the car. Drivers are always going to complain. Unfortunately, the only one that gets a perfect car is the guy who crosses the line first, and even then. So, but no, it's good to see Thruxton back on there twice. It's a bit of a shake-up. As well, as far as the calendar's concerned. The first 3 races, so you still remain at Brands Hatch Indy at the start of April. You then follow on with Donington Park and then Thruxton as round 3. There's a swap between Croft and Alton Park, so Alton Park will be the mid-season closing rounds. We're back into action in August. It's Stepperton. The second visit to Thruxton several weeks later, and then keeping with the same rhythm of the last 3 events of this year, Knockhill will then be followed by Silverstone, and then we're back for the finale at Brands Hatch Grand Prix, which, funnily enough, they're going to this weekend.
Yes, and Stuart, is that a good spread of rounds? Do you think it's almost identical? Yes, minus the Rockingham round, but given the dates, there's no worrying sort of 5-week gaps in between, for example, is there? Apart from July, which there is. Anyway,
it's all bearable for any touring car fan who gets a bit on edge when they're trying to wait for the series to return, like I did. But to follow on about the Rockingham thing, it's a shame to see that track go, because this season it produced some great racing. Granted, it did have a bit of wet weather to spice things up a bit, but it was a fantastic event to end their BTCC 4am. But 2 rounds at Thruxton might be interesting, but I can imagine you will see probably the same faces at the top again in both of the races. So, that's about it, really. It's going to be an interesting season next year, and probably the second Thruxton is going to be a key part to this to the championship come the end of that year.
Yes, so as you probably already are well aware of the championship by now, but we thought we'd let you know either way, because I think when it was originally released earlier in the season, it was I think it was a question mark, wasn't it? I think it was a TBA, to be announced. Was that right? Am I remembering this right? I think. Or was it always Thruxton? I can't remember.
No, Thruxton. Well, no, the calendar was confirmed with the second Thruxton event on it. Okay. So I think it was more the rumours of what was happening with Rockingham instead. But no, as we've seen before, and as Alan Gale quite happily explained at Croft this year, he loves to have the calendar in place as soon as possible, because it gives the teams, the drivers, sponsors, promoters, everyone involved in the series as much time as possible to start getting packages and programs and money and everything in place for the next year. So, which is a good idea. They seem to be doing it earlier and earlier each year. I'm waiting for the season where, come media day, they're able to announce the 2019 calendar on the same day for the start of the previous season. If that makes sense.
That would not surprise me one little bit, to be honest. And talking about, staying on the 2019 theme as well, guys, because there was perhaps a bit of a tease from Mr. Alan Gow that what was the original statement? That he thought maybe there might be less TBLs issued, or there should be a lowering of the grid numbers or something. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I'm just paraphrasing what I can remember from what he said. And it'll be interesting to see how many TBLs are issued, won't it, Phil?
Yes, so there's been talk of a reduction of the grid. He's looking to reduce.
He's almost confirmed it, really, hasn't he?
Near enough, yeah. So he's looking to reduce the grids. A time frame hasn't really been specified on that, but he's looking to reduce from 32 cars down to 26, with several years of the championship with NGTC regulations proving very popular, to try and now, instead of quantity, move towards quality of the grid in British touring cars. 26 being an ideal size.
Won't necessarily all work out like that, though, will it?
Well, in the simplest way, those with the talent and those that can afford will be there. And a big clue towards this will be, normally it's around about November time when the series releases its list of the number of TBLs assigned to each team. So that will give you an idea when that comes out, how many licenses have been confirmed for 2019, and then the fun and games begin as the rumour mill kicks into overdrive, and then we'll find out which drivers are signed up with which teams for next year.
And your thoughts on the possible reduction of TBLs? Do you agree with what Phil said, Stuart?
Yeah, I agree. It's as long as certain teams get to cut down in size, if that's what Alan Gower wants, and we don't lose teams with one-car drivers or one-car teams like that, because they're as essential as part of the championship anyway.
Well, I don't know. I mean, if as Phil says, and is what happens ultimately, in that there's a slimlining of talent, let's say, potentially some of those one-car teams will go.
Potentially, but in the end, it's going to be whoever has in the right place at the right time, whoever has the TBL, whoever has the money to be able to compete, they'll have to prove their worth in there. And there's probably some teams that could slimline themselves a bit, and maybe help out some teams that might want to enter in the future.
Interesting. Well, I suppose we'll just have to keep our eye on it and just see exactly how it develops and who gets what TBL. I mean, it might just be the case that the number of TBLs issued might just coincide with the number of entries, coincidentally, that managed to have been signed up for the season. I'm not saying that will be the case, but it just might be. Or we could have a situation where we have a disgruntled team who wanted to be signed up, have nowhere else to race, and they didn't get. I mean, it's like musical chairs, because maybe they didn't pay enough to get a TBL or whatever it is, the procedure that they go through. So I guess we will just wait and see on that one. Open question mark. If you have any thoughts or views on 2019 TBLs, 2019 calendar in DBTCC, then let us know, because we're itching to read out your comment. Yes, a comment flooded in. Hello to Dan Marr, tuned in right now as well. Hello, good evening, Mr. Dan. Also tuned in right now. And to everybody else, Scott Leach as well. Richard Lofty Brown tuned in. Hello. Paul Clark's still on. So is Owen Clark. Don't know if he's any relation. Probably not. Niall Robert, Barrett. I keep getting your name wrong every single time. So sorry.
More practice needed, Lester.
It's just. I'm so sorry, Niall. And also Lisa Burton as well. Hello. Good evening, folks. Let us know. Blake Gibbons has been on. A comment has flooded in. Hello, Blake. Potentially, he says, one-car teams will disappear, but could some single-car teams connect up? That'll be interesting.
That's not a bad idea, I must admit, and something I wouldn't be surprised to see happening as well. My biggest fear, and it's probably the biggest well-known one-car team, is obviously Tom Ingram and Speedworks. I don't want to see such an iconic giant-killing privateer outfit, going missing next year, and I sincerely hope that's not the case. Should the grid reduce down to talent and everything as we've spoken about. Do
you have any ideas about who, if you, for example, for those who watch X Factor, sometimes they put good but not good enough solo singers into groups and stuff, and that's how like super groups get formed and stuff. Apologies if you don't watch that sort of stuff. Neither do I. But just to use that as an example, so who would we, if we were in charge, Phil and Stuart, who would we put together to make a super team?
Stuart, I'll let you go first on this. I need to have a think.
So we could choose any driver in the current championship.
Well, I'd say one. Yeah, I mean, if we suspect, I mean, for the teams who we know are going to definitely have two drivers and almost definitely sorted for next year, we'll put them to one side. But the ones that might have a bit of a question mark, ones maybe you think it might make sense to just pair them together, just like Blake Gibbons suggested.
Well, after considering his performances this season, how he's improved from the previous season, I might have Matt Simpson. Ever since he split from Eurotech, he's now a one-car team, so he might be within a shout if he stays with the Honda Civic as well.
And who would he be with?
I'll let Phil have the partnership there. Because I'm struggling to think of someone as well.
You're struggling because we what it is, we know. Let's be honest a second. Stuart and I know how good this grid is because we're watching this all the time. We know how difficult something like this is.
Are we scared to say anything in case Facebook attacks?
No. So I'll be honest. It's trying to weigh it out because you're almost saying who would you put with who. Okay, so in a hypothetical world,
that's what I'm asking.
Okay, so in a hypothetical world, I would put Tom Ingram and Speedworks with Matt Simpson and Simpson Racing.
Oh my God! How could you?
There you go. Suddenly the internet melts down. So no, purely and simply because they are the two one-entry teams that I know of, and both teams deserve to have a go at the grid. Matt Simpson obviously split from Eurotech and Eurotech, earlier in the year, and there was all the fallout from that. But he's also been able to race well. He's got his own team set up around him. He's got the best people in place he can have with the best car he can use. So yeah. And Tom, as we know, well established with Speedworks since he came into British Touring Cars. So two teams that are one-car teams, ideally, you could match together. Anyone's pick, really. And, we've seen teams merge in the past to try and get the best benefits out of each other. They're two one-car candidates. You could see. It's also, again, like we said, it's talent and money it's going to come down to at the same time. Who has TPLs? Who's going to be in and who's capable of driving and being able to complete a full season. I think that, as the quality side of thing, I think a full season program for a driver, having that sponsorship and backing is going to be a bigger factor than drivers that maybe can say, we can get as far as Snetterton or we can get as far as Croft or, as far as Silverstone. That's going to be a better factor, I think. If you can get a full season seat, then you've got a better chance, I think, of being on the grid.
Fair enough. Stuart, anything to add to that?
No, particularly, I totally agree with Phil. We might see a loss of the one-car teams, we might not, but it's all down to all the money and how much talent you got, whether they want you.
The voice of sense, Mr. Phil Kinch. TCR.
I try. I fail miserably. if you speak to the good wife, she'll happily tell you otherwise.
Fair enough. Let us know your thoughts, because we are right now live, unless you're listening to us and we're not live, in which case we're just on. Hello either way. So 2019 TBLs is TBC, to be confirmed, I suppose, as to who does what. Also, anything else that we're particularly... yes, I know. There was a bit of a rumour.
Steady now.
I know. It's not something that we usually get involved in, rumours. I won't hear of such scurrilous things. But Stuart, you heard something about Jason Plato.
Well, during the qualifying on the RTV website, David Addison and Tim Harvey started talking about this rumour about Jason Plato not being at a rear-wheel drive Subaru for 2019, and me and Phil, we messaged during that event, and we sort of we tried to guess what might be happening. We imagine he's going to go somewhere that's front-wheel drive to probably give him a better chance to reach 100 race wins.
I think I know.
And it's, which we don't know. We can't really tie down which car he might drive.
We found it difficult, didn't we? We struggled with this one.
Or which series he might be
exactly
in.
Which series?
Even if he stays in the BTCC.
I'm just going to hide over here a second. Hang on.
Basically, it's something that on previous touring car talks that we've done and published, we've cheekily suggested that Plato might not even be in the BTCC next year. He might just go completely over to TCR and TCR UK for 2019. And the longer this season goes on, the less ridiculous that theory actually sounds.
It's I'm parking this in the rumour mill. I'm firmly parking this.
It is definitely rumour, but it's.
I just want to make that clear. I'm firmly parking this in the rumour mill department.
Well, yes, but it's a lot less stupid a rumour as if we was to say it, earlier in March, for example.
Let's be honest. I think Jason's had his worst season to date. The fact finders and Knowles with all the facts and figures of BTC out there,
even with the boost,
BTC would probably say. Pardon?
Yes, exactly.
Right. So he's potentially had his worst season to date, and I think personally, he's the Subaru project was his idea. It was a situation
he's given a good go, hasn't he? I mean,
he has. Yes, he's brought in a Subaru,
and the team has won the Ash Sutton is the champion still.
And he was in contention himself up until Silverstone, until the end of Silverstone's races. So
it can win.
You don't know, but he's made his titles in front-wheel drive cars. It's been several seasons since he's been in a front-wheel drive car, and Mr. Addison and Mr. Harvey were alluding to the fact he could be in a front-wheel drive car for next year. So I'm firmly parking in the rumour mill, but I dare say that's one that a lot of people are going to be discussing.
We will talk about TCR and TCR UK in the coming weeks as the next round, Phil, remind me, draws closer.
So it takes place on the 13th and 14th of October at Donington Park. It is the finale.
Oh, yes.
And I myself will be in attendance with the family. I haven't paid them to do this, by the way. They're happily doing this because they want to, just in case anyone thinks otherwers.
We're TCR guru, after all.
Well, this is true. It's we'll go down that one later. Yes, Donington Park, 13th and 14th of October is going to be the finale on the national circuit, where we'll see Dan Lloyd and Ollie Taylor fight out to see who will be the very first TCR UK champion. And then, like I say, I'll be there in attendance on the race day on Sunday with the wife and a couple of family members to sit and watch the racing live for the second time this year, which I'm looking forward to.
Excellent stuff, and I'm surprised that you don't actually attend more races, but given that you have a life and a job and family and such, it's understandable, whereas in contrast, I don't. So there you go. Hey kids, stay in school. So we will talk, like I say, about TCR UK later. That was just a little tease of it. Also this weekend as well, there is a series which is currently close to Stuart's heart at the moment, the Clio's title race. And you're keeping a very close eye on that. He is.
Apologies, Lest. You broke up.
No, you broke up.
He broke up.
I was going to say, I broke up then.
Oh, well.
Apologies.
What I was saying is, this weekend, Clio's. Yay.
Yes, we'll carry on Clio here. And
very good. And can I just point out, you're going to get a lot more of this from this man. He absolutely loves this sort of thing. Do not doubt that there is more Stuart BTCC jokes to come. Thank you.
Well, yes, it's a four-way title battle this weekend in the Renault Clio Cup, and if you followed last season, from what I heard, it was a whitewash by Mike Bushell. This time, the top three drivers are only separated by 7 points, and with 56 points available in the final two rounds. Max Coates currently heads the title championship with 277 points. Behind him is Paul Rivette, who will be going for his fourth Clio Cup title. And behind Rivette is James Dorlin. He had 5 wins in a row earlier in the season, and that's really helped him out in this title race. The dark horse is Daniel Rowbottom, and his maximum points, if he gets the maximum score of 56, he'll only have 284 points, so it'll be very close. So he's still in with a mathematical chance, but it's going to be very, very difficult for Dan Rowbottom to win the title. Silverstone was a big turning point for the championship. I've got a list of notes here. That's what I'm looking over there. I know, I've come prepared. You heard earlier in the BTCC bit, I don't write any of that down, so I sound like I don't know anything really. But in the first race, Max Coates, he actually retired on the first lap, which really opened up the chance for Paul Rivette to lead the championship. Then Rivette was leading the championship at the end of the second race until he was disqualified for a discretion during the race. It was he had some sort of overtake or something like that. He got disqualified further on, and Coates retook the championship lead heading into Brands Hatch. And James Dorlin scored a podium in the second race at Silverstone, and it was his first podium in 3 races, which kept him in the fight. And as I say, the 5 wins in a row earlier in the year has been really important. And he was unstoppable at that point, but it hasn't gone well recently. But that recent podium has helped him out. So it's going to be very exciting. I can't decide who's going to win because, as I say, 7 points with 56 points available. It's going to be very, very, very close and exciting in that championship.
Blimey. Okay. Well, I suppose I was going to ask you who you thought might win, but since you said you can't decide. Yeah, so who would be the, I don't know, maybe the dark horse for, not necessarily the championship, but just anybody to watch out for, maybe mid-pack, who might potentially do well?
Well, recently Silverstone, Bradley Burns, he was the youngest ever race winner. He won both races at Silverstone. He was absolutely unstoppable. He was on imperious form. And there was also, well, who else was there? Jade Edwards, she came back, but she had a crash in the first race, but she might go well at Brands Hatch as well. But I see it as just going to be a battle between the top 4 at the front, and it's going to be very, very close. Okay.
Certainly one to watch out for this weekend. And also, a name to watch out for who you might already know of is the person who was announced recently as going to be, I think, just a one-off appearance, sort of guest drive, really, in the Porsche Carrera, along with, I think this is in the Redline Racing team, with Dino Zamparelli as his teammate. It's Mike Wilds. And, wow, where do we know that name from, guys?
F1.
Oh, F1, you say?
F1?
Yes.
Is that F1 I heard someone say?
Oh, yeah, indeed. Don't all jump in at once. But yes, veteran racer Mike Wilds. And this was I think he's 71, I think, maybe 72. He's been around a long time. Mike's the one on the left for our visual radio listeners. He'll be teaming up with old Dino Zamparelli, Bristol-based guy in the Redline Racing, and Mike was just having a quick check of his history. Most recently racing in the Brit Car Championship or Brit Car Endurance, and he's done loads and loads of different types of racing. HSCC. He's done loads of different Masters, Historics, and Masters things. Well, I suppose you would do, really, if you've been around a while. So yeah, that will be interesting. I'll be keeping an eye out for him anyway, and I recommend you do too as well, because that will be something to watch anyway. So yeah, Mike Wilds. I think I'm just trying to definitely confirm his age at the moment. Let's see what Driver DB says. 72 years old. Wow.
That's impressive.
That is impressive, and he's been going a long time round in circles. And he's back to where he started, almost. Mike Wilds, there you go. And talking about OAPs, by the way.
You went there, didn't you?
It's just, you know.
You were going, that was coming along. I can see that coming along well off. This is going to be a long night.
Talking about, let's say, I don't know, experienced drivers, yes. any gentleman drivers, let's say, in any class of the TOCA Championship, probably BTCC though. Bit of a question for you: is there anybody, Phil, that we can think of who might want to make a comeback, who is of a similar age, maybe in their late 60s, early 70s, or even older? Can we think of anyone who you would like to see, love to see, if they're still alive?
This is a bit where Phil braces to be shot down in flames by any of these people if they follow him on social media. I'll be honest, a lot of the drivers I'm thinking of would be former Super Tourer drivers. And my first thought
Are we all
is...
going to say John Cleland?
No, I'm getting to him. I'm working that way. I'm getting there.
That was
he's
on
on
the
the
number
list.
one anyway.
Yeah, of course.
There you go. Stuart's thought of him already. So I was going to go with Frank Bieler, because I know he does a lot of demonstration work for Audi, and still has to go at some races as well. So I would like to see Frank have a go at British touring cars again. I think that'd be a popular move with the Audis we have as well. I think. Yes, he would definitely be one.
When I say this, I don't just mean a one-off sort of demonstration drive, just similar to when the Super Tourers joined on the BTCC bill a couple of years ago at a very soggy Alton Park, which was amazing to watch because it was streamed live on ITV, I believe, which I remember. I think that was 2014 or 2015. They should do more of that anyway, definitely. But I don't just mean like a one-off exhibition race. I mean actually properly racing, coming back, competing at the high level. And maybe it might be possible with when touring cars potentially goes to hybrids in a few years. So it could take some of the the whatever's preventing them from coming back.
Well, we did have Alain Menu come back recently in the Volkswagen, but he did get a podium, but he wasn't obviously not up to the standard where you would expect him to be.
I don't think he's that
fairy
old,
tale
though.
as it would be.
I think he's only in his 50s.
And he is Aidan Moffat's driver coach, so he's always around the paddock. So
yeah,
I must admit, his connection to British touring cars hasn't ever wavered. Before, I'll be honest, Stuart's just educated me because I didn't know he'd had a go at VW Cup. I know he had two out.
It was the it was the Volkswagen CC when he drove it.
Right, yes, right, yeah. Okay, yep, there we go. No, not at all. I know his last racing outing was a couple of was as one of the Hyundai drivers last year in TCR International. So Alain, I think, has definitely got some mileage in it. It would be lovely to see him back in the series, and I think if he's able to get a competitive drive with someone, he would definitely come back. I think he suffered a little when in his season he had with the Volkswagen. It was a learning season, and I firmly believe if you're going to have a go at British touring cars, you've got to look at least 2 to 3 years to be able to sort of race in the series, get used to the cars, and then be able to extract the best from the car and be up the front. So, but Alain is very capable of doing that. So, Frank Bieler, Alain Menu, and I'll let Stuart attest to one of my favourite drivers who he's beaten me to the punch with as well.
John Clerton, who offers Super Touring, Super Touring Masters, is it called?
Yes,
his old 97 Vectra. So, and he's been winning in that recently, and whether he could do that in a NGTC car or a hybrid car he probably could if he gets back up to speed again, and it will certainly generate plenty of publicity for the championship again if he's which I imagine what most people will be looking out for. So that'll be all be good.
Definitely.
So let us know who you think would be suitable, let's say, or who you would just love to see back racing at that top level, not just as a one-off exhibition race, not just for a bit of fun, but actually racing again. If you think they're old but gold, if you think they can do it, then let us know who that driver is. Which OAP would we like to see back in BTCC, basically? Let us know. Maybe I could have said that a little bit more diplomatic, but that's. That should definitely be a thing, I think. Let us know also regarding our big debate tonight, as we do like a debate now and again. We're asking who you think deserves to win the BTCC this year in 2018. Almost said 2019. We've had...
hang on, let's get this weekend out of the way, shall we? Let's not plan too far.
I'm getting my years confused. But who do you think deserves to win? Not who you think will win, but who do you think deserves to win? We've had Dan Marr, who's tuned in, who many people might know. Hi, good evening, Dan. He says, rather forthright, no one deserves to win. Nobody deserves to win. He says it'll be won by the person and the team who does the best job. That's the whole point.
Yeah, that sounds like Mr. Marr. Diplomatic as normal. Thank you very much, kind sir, for your view.
Exactly. And James Petrie's been on, and he says Chilton, presumably to the answer of who he thinks deserves to win, as it was just a one-word answer. Regarding who he think, and I think this is David Whitehouse, he's been on, I think he's answering the same question as well. He says, personally hope it's Tom Ingram with a true independent team, but Chilton has done an amazing job to even be in third, hasn't been a regular top 3 car. But yeah, that would be interesting. Shaka Anderson says, Turkington for me, Mr. Consistent. Can't argue with that.
Yep, definitely.
Indeed. Yeah, so your comments and suggestions on as to which OAPs you would love to see back racing, and who do you think would be able to do the business back in the BTCC, and also who you think deserves to win the BTCC title. Let us know this evening. We are live on Motorsport Radio. This is Touring Car Talk. My name is Lester. We've got Phil Kinch and Stuart Richards with us as well. Talking about Tom Ingram, by the way, and something that was touched on briefly earlier is regarding his comeback drives. I suppose I'll start by asking you, Stuart, because you mentioned it earlier. But why are Tom Ingram's comeback drives so special?
Well, it seemed like every single weekend his first race would go down horribly wrong. Something would go wrong with his Toyota, and he'll have to start at the back of the grid with no weight on and having to carve his way through the field. Sometimes the conditions helped, and he's often gone up to either third. He had 2 third places from the back of the grid. I think it was Snetterton and Croft, was it, Phil?
Snetterton, he did 1.
Rockingham was the other one.
Rockingham was the other one, yeah. Rockingham was 1, and Silverstone as well.
Silverstone, yes, and it's all been down to the speed of his Toyota with no weight on, and he's been very, very lucky to be able to carve through the field, and it's been probably one of the most exciting things to see this season in the championship. But it has been it's a mix of good and bad, because obviously it's great to see Tom get a great result, but it's bad because it would have obviously meant that he had a terrible first race and his car would have broken down. So it's swings and roundabouts, but it's been fantastic viewing for the fans and pundits alike.
Indeed, and yeah, Phil, same question for you, really. Why are, if they are at all, but I think they are, why are Tom Ingram's comeback drives just so special? Your thoughts?
To be honest, I think you couldn't sum it up as Tom Ingram's sort of signature of the 2018 season. When he's had a difficult race, like Stuart said, a difficult first race of the weekend, he's been able to, with no weight, be the fastest car in the field. And undoubtedly, you've got to be the fastest guy in the field if you're driving back from, like he did at Silverstone, from 14th place up to take a race win. At Snetterton, where he fell down, he retired from race 1 with electrical issues and drove back in race 2 to take the win. So, Tom's talent is undeniable, and he is one of the definite young guns of the series. He's always been with Speedworks during his tenure in the British Touring Car Championship. For me, I'll be honest, and this could probably get a few surprised looks, I don't understand why Toyota have not decided to commit a works team and work alongside with Speedworks and Tom, because he's almost been a one-man advertising banner to say, look, this is what I can do in a Toyota, an NGTC car that looks like a Toyota, but is completely different under the skin. But he's been able to, he's done this on his own. So this is definitely, the talent is there, the knowledge of the car is there, the team working with him is a brilliant spectacle to see. They work as one unit, basically. Everything that the team's able to do, Tom's able to translate into the car. So yeah, his comeback drives for me are one of the signature focal points of the 2018 season. And when people come to look back at 2018 historically, definitely going to be talking about how he was able to fight back when he needed to in the best way possible.
Interesting. Okay, I'll take your word for that. Personally, I'm going to be again sitting on the fence on this one, because I'm just going to be complete neutral, and I'm not necessarily diving into the Tom Ingram fan club, and I'm not getting into the haters of Mr. Tingram. How could anyone be a hater of Mr. Tom Ingram? How dare you? But yeah, if you I don't know, have any comments in support of Tingram, let us know. Get in touch. What do you think? this evening. We're live on Motorsport Radio. This is Touring Car Talk. It's the first ever live show of Touring Car Talk. My name's Lester. Phil Kinch is here, and also Stuart Richards as well. Both from the Checkered Flag as well, which we've successfully established that I cannot spell yet. But don't worry, Google can do that. So you can find out their scribblings and their thoughts about various championships. And also one other thing, before we move on to talking about, dare I say, other touring cars. One final question, and I think it needs to be potentially talked about as well, because, well, we're going to talk about it anyway. Ricky Collard.
Oh.
He, for those who don't know, basically sort of replaced his dad at the team, and it was meant to be just a one-off, and then that turned into plus another round, and then but question is, Phil, will he continue in BTCC? Do we want him to continue? Is he good enough to continue? And will Rob retire?
Okay, so as someone kindly pointed out this week, my vast knowledge of different genres of motorsport. Thank you for that. You know who you are.
Sorry.
So I'm not naming names. I shan't embarrass. Ricky's a BMW Motorsport Junior driver. And I know previously he's explained about his aspirations to race in the DTM, which I humbly applaud him for. Brits do rather well in the DTM, as we well know. I think that's where his aspirations lie. However, that said, his performances in the NGTC BMW in British touring cars, for me, have been really impressive. Okay, he's got experience of a rear-wheel drive racing car. He is a BMW driver, but as he freely admitted on the grid at Knockhill when it was absolutely hammering down with rain, that makes no difference. He's in a car that he's got to learn and find its sweet spot, understand how it works. And he's been doing it on a round-by-round basis, since Knockhill onwards. And I think he's done a really great job. I know a lot of fans out there on social media have commented they'd love to see him have a go next year in British touring cars, and quite possibly in Team BMW because of his links with his dad and his association with the team as well. So for me, I'd like to see him have a go. He really impressed at Silverstone last time out for a circuit that doesn't normally reward BMWs. He did a brilliant job, both in qualifying and the races. So it's quite possible. I think he'd do really well in the championship. That being said, if his goal is DTM, I think it'd be great to see a new British talent over there as well. So I'm happy either way. Once again, 50-50 now. If Ricky was to drive full-time in British touring cars, that would be great. If he was to drive full-time in DTM, even better because of his hard work with BMW. As for Rob, he's one of the most popular drivers on the grid. Absolutely. As a gentleman driver, we've all seen the hardships, the hard work he's gone through for the various teams during his seasons in the championship. Whilst he's not a great qualifier, he has been supreme in the BMW previously. And unfortunately, he's had a couple of accidents this year, specifically after Snetterton, that has ruled him out of the car. I would love to see him back in the car. He does really well. He's proven it before in the BMW. However, there also comes a question, I suppose, as well. How many times, how many knocks do you take before you say enough is enough? Yeah,
you say, he has had a couple of big crashes over the past couple of years. And, he's not getting any younger, and we all want him to remain in one piece. Yeah. And, you literally heard my thoughts.
Yes, I was really no. So, well, I think everyone would love to see Rob back, but
maybe an occasional, maybe like substituting for other drivers potentially. That would be good. But is it time for him to maybe step down from a full season campaign and maybe just I think that might be a good role for him to maybe even partner with his son as a couple of one-off events next year. That'd be good, I think.
It would. I see the thinking behind it. Unfortunately, the way British touring cars is, everyone wants a full season seat. So unless you had something similar to, the way V8 supercars have endurance contests and co-drivers in their cars, I'm not sure if you'd see that happen. I could definitely see him working alongside Ricky. He's obviously been doing that for the last couple of weekends of the championship, so that could be an idea. But I personally think Rob's got several more seasons in him. But you do start to question, how many knocks do you take before you say enough is enough? And some drivers, have retired on medical grounds. Steve Soper, being the first to come to mind of late after his big accident. It was a case of, look, you either keep racing and you run the risk of this could be your last race, or you call it a day and live to fight another day. Yeah. For Rob, I think he's got more in him, but obviously it's a decision. It's something they're going to be looking at, I would have thought, over the winter as well. And again, the same with Jason Plato, as we discussed already. Definitely one of the subjects is going to be a discussion among the fans over the winter.
Interesting one. And a couple of comments have flooded in regarding Plato to TCR and the potential of what we said, possibly adding a bit of extra validation, and some seeing the sense of it now, to be honest. But just talking about, same question to you as well, Stuart, regarding Mr. Ricky Collard and Rob Collard. Will Ricky continue next year? Do we want him to continue? Do we want Rob to continue? And will Rob even retire?
Personally, I hope Ricky continues in the British Touring Car Championship. He was absolutely fantastic at Silverstone, and that was probably the moment where he proved to people that there's probably more to come with him. If he wants to go off to DTM in the future, fair enough. No one's going to stop him. As Phil says, he respects him for coming out and saying that he wants to drive in DTM. I respect him as well, and just as long as DTM might send over some drivers to us as well. But that Silverstone weekend was absolutely fantastic. His qualifying, obviously, all the jokes about how he beat his dad at qualifying and all that, blah blah blah, and his race and his podium and his Jax's trophy win. He won that overall at Silverstone. I'm sure there's more to come from him. And if Brandstadt's if the final race of the season is the last we see of Ricky Collard, it would be a bit of a shame, but it was good to see what he was made of. Regarding Rob, I agree with Phil. It's a very thin line in regards to what this concussion he had, and it's been a very hot topic in multiple sports. Yeah. Motorsport, you're obviously going quicker speeds than, say, a football player or NFL player, and it's very, very, very tough. I'm sure Rob sits at home. He's probably immensely proud of his son, but I know there's probably an itch inside him to go back in the car. But he probably knows that anything could happen. Yeah,
personally, I think it would be having. Just based on his previous interviews that I've done with him, I know he would, if he could support both of his sons racing, then he would. I think he would probably do the sensible thing and probably just take a bit of time out, to be honest. I mean, if he's sick of being injured, as is what seems to be suggested here, and understandably so, because who wants to be in pain quite a lot? Nobody. So why not help your sons' careers as much as you possibly can, knowing that you've done everything that you can with your own career and become a bit of a BTCC legend in that he's much loved universally.
Exactly. I agree.
Cult hero. He's won many races. He can hold his head high.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no shame in stepping down now, I would suggest. But what do you think? If you're tuned in right now live to us on the nearly said another show then on Touring Car Talk. Hello. I get so used to do bikes quite a lot and other different things. I forget sometimes what we're doing. This is Touring Car Talk, first ever live show here on Motorsport Radio of Touring Car Talk. We've previously done them as recorded things, but this is live because it saves me about 50 hours of editing. And also it's better to interactions and stuff. My name is Lester, and Phil Kinch is here, and also Stuart Richards, both from the Shepherd Flag website. Yes, we are welcoming your comments this evening, especially on who you think potentially deserves to win the BTCC crown this weekend. Who you think deserves to win it, not necessarily who you think will win it. If they are two different people, let us know why. And especially the why, that's important. And also as well, if there are any gentleman drivers who match the description of an OAP, who you would like to see make a comeback to the BTCC for maybe most of a full season, and not just a cheeky one-off exhibition drive. Who would it be? We've already had a couple of big suggestions so far already. If you've got any people in mind, I'm going to say Cleland. I don't think that actually was mentioned. But is Cleland an OAP? I think he is. If he isn't, apologies.
It's on whoever can get a free bus pass.
Okay. Different qualifying idea. I like that.
Yes. I mean, what's the criteria for that? I don't know.
60, isn't it?
60? Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was 60.
No idea. Anyway, so are there any people that might qualify for a bus pass type drivers who you might like to see come back? It was just because literally we touched upon it earlier that in the Porsches, Mike Wilds is going to be making a reappearance back on I would suspect anyway, live TV in the touring car paddock, and that will be interesting to watch, I would say. So this is Touring Car Talk on Motorsport Radio. My name's Lester.
You're doing well.
I need to
Keep
put
going.
a little thing over
really
the
well.
thing.
You do, yeah. A plaster up on top. Touring Car Talk. Lester Forbes.
Yeah, Alan Hyde doesn't even forget. He doesn't have the.
No, exactly.
But this is Motorsport Radio. Hello and welcome. If you're just tuned in to us for the first time ever, then you're more than welcome to stay and share anything that we do. We do also talk about bikes as well on Motorsport Radio. It's not all about cars. Oh no, we have quite a big bike following, and on Thursdays we will have the Superbike Show with Kiko Giles, who is basically the bike equivalent of Phil Kinch. He is the teenage bike guru.
I'm going to point out he's already better looking than I am. That's just to give Kiko a bit of kudos there, because I've seen what he does. But Touring Car Talk will rival the Superbike Show, but we'll get there slowly.
Exactly, yes. And we will move on to talk about, because it's not just as well, by the way, and this is a bone of contention for all of the internet. It's not just BTCC that qualifies as touring cars as well. Oh no, yes, that's true.
There's more? There's other series out there?
There are other series out there, and right now we are going to be chatting about the World Touring Car Championships, because that is also a thing as well. And World Touring Car Championship gets underway once again. Where are they now? What's going on? And why is Tarquini still knocking about? He would qualify as one of the OAPs, I think.
Yes, he would. He's perfect. Gabriele Tarquini.
I was going to say him as well.
Yes, he goes through. Add him to the list. You get Cleland and Tarquini. I'll go with Biela, and I can't remember who else I said. Gabriele, in fact, if you really want to go that far, if Arn Muller, maybe we could throw in previously. Not sure. I'm sure someone will correct us on that one.
But both, incidentally, both of those people are heading the World Touring Car Championship. This is like the 1990s.
It is. It's
What's going
on? It is rather weird. WTCR, the FIA World Touring Car Cup. I'll educate you, Lester. We'll get you on track. Returns after quite a lengthy break, I think it could be said. The last time these guys raced, says Phil, as he checks his calendar live on air.
This is how much. I mean, if the TCR guru has to check his notes, then
look, exactly, it works. Look, where are we? No, pat camera that way. Yes, there we go. I'll get the finger pointing right.
Exactly.
See, even Stuart has to prepare, and I'm happily dialing with through the phone. So the last time WTCR raced was at Slovakia Ring. We've had quite a break of at least a couple of months, I believe it is. And
why was that?
The reason was, so they were supposed to race in Argentina back on the 4th and 5th of August. That was part of the original calendar. However, due to some promoter issues, the Argentine circuit wasn't able to uphold holding the races. So the Slovakia Ring stepped in, and I'll be honest, I think it was a good choice as well. They had some 3 exciting races, plenty of contact, plenty of crashes.
You're not just saying that.
No, I'm not just saying. I was saying that, they were really good races. If you look on various forms of social media and videoing, you'll find them and enjoy them.
Okay.
I'll educate you on those as well.
I believe you.
Yes, you will. Yes, you will.
Well, if Tarquini and Muller are both heading the championship at the moment, something somewhere is working pretty well.
So, if you look at the championship standings, you've got Gabriele Tarquini up on 202 points. You've got Ivan Muller not far behind on 199, and then he gets a little bit closer as we round out the top 5. You've got Norbert Mikulis. He says, reading points. Let's do this way, shall we? There we go. This is terrible. I have to work on this. I need plasters up on the screen as well. Norbert Mikulis on 176 points. Jan Erlache in the Munich Motorsport.
Oh, that's how you say it. I was wondering.
I was going to say. I didn't know how to say it either.
I'll be honest, the first time I heard it, it was pronounced Erlacher.
That's what I would have said, to be honest. Sorry,
I thought that wasn't correct. Yeah, I thought it wasn't correct at all. I'm not going to quote the commentator that said it. And then afterwards it was correctly pronounced as Erlache. I'm sticking with that. If the commentator's running around the world with these guys, chatting to them on a daily basis over weekends and whatever, saying it correct, I'm going with that. And rounding out the top 5, who is oddly someone who will get a mention later on, Jean-Carl Vernet. So, you know, it's actually quite... I want to say the top 10 is quite close. If you go down to 10th place, you've got Aurélien Comte on 109 points versus Tarquini on 202. It's three Hyundais in the top 3. It's widely recognised at the moment the Hyundai is the best TCR car out there. But as you have with British touring cars, Success Ballast, and you have reverse grids, etc. With WTCR, you have Success Ballast, you have balance of performance, so the boost on the cars can be changed, publicly acknowledged. Ride heights can be changed, which is also publicly acknowledged. And as well as that, you have several different types of qualifying as well. WTCR can be a little bit more difficult to follow this year, but it has mixed up grids. A little bit, yeah. But like I said, I'll educate you. You'll be an expert by the time we get to Macau.
To be honest, I really like the old, when it was just the World Touring Car Championship. I knew the format. I knew when it was on. I knew what was happening. We had some massive names. And life was good for a time.
It was. Unfortunately, though, the TC1 regulations for those that followed the series just weren't sustainable. The cars were horrifically expensive to maintain and run and build. And manufacturers, unfortunately, were just leaving the championship as it was, in droves, because quite simply, a manufacturer will only race in a championship as a works team as best it can for as much as it can afford and remain being successful. It just wasn't happening. So that's why instead... Because
I think the dominant year of the Citroens, was it?
They dominated the TC1 regulations.
They killed
if you look at Citroen,
in my point of view.
Yeah, Citroen turned up with a massive budget. Let's just sort of reference that massive budget. I think they spent 18 months developing the Elise, and basically turned up with the best drivers in the championship and went on to dominate the championship. With Jose Maria Lopez taking 3 titles on the trot. As Mr. Marr alluded to earlier with British Touring Cars, the best driver with the best team and the best package, at his disposal, will go on and win the title.
Well, that's not what the fans want always, is it?
No, you see, the fans want exciting racing, but I'll be honest that, recently I've read that, sometimes they do actually just want to see the best of the best come to the top, and win it outright and beat everyone without gimmicks and without, ways of I don't want to say customise the grid, but
gimmicks. I thought you was right. Yeah,
we're going with gimmicks. Yeah, it's the best way. So without ways of mixing it up. But unfortunately, part of gimmicks coming in is because a lot of times you got fed up with the racing how it was. The fastest people would always go and win. You want to see others have a chance. And I must admit, reverse grids, balance of performance, success ballast, that sort of thing.
By the time
touring cars,
by the time they started to change it up and mix things up, it was kind of too late for me anyway. I'd already sort of switched off from it. So it was.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it still works well. WTCR even has a unique way of doing things to spread a lot of sessions over the weekend this year, and it works. You have a different point system for all 3 races that take place. You score points in qualifying in both qualifying sessions that take place over the weekend. There's lots of points on offer. It's not difficult to score if you've got a competitive car, and we've we've seen several different guys lead the championship over the year as well. Muller's been a championship leader. Air Lachey's been a championship leader. Tarquini has been a championship leader and is once again. And you've got other guys who are in fast cars that, on a weekend, if you get a good score, which doesn't necessarily include a win, or a podium, you can, have three top four finishes, and score good points. So it is a very close championship. These guys are all using TCR cars, which, as we know, are very closely matched through balance of performance, with the organisations involved doing the best they can to keep it as equal as possible. But you've got phenomenal driving talents, like we said, Tarquini, Muller, you've got Norbert Michaelis in there, you have, Ted Bjork, Fabrizio Giovanardi. The names are endless of the old talents. You've got the current generation. We'll throw in Gordon Shedden as an example, Jean-Carl Vernet is another, and then you've got the new guys coming through: Aurélien Panis, Denis Dupont, to name a few. These guys are coming through and cutting their teeth in touring cars on the world stage. So something that's really good about the championship has been that it's combining three different generations of racer, and they're all going hell for leather every weekend. With 30 races around the year.
I do like. I have been very enthusiastic about the WTCR and their combination to keep it revived of TCR and the flailing or the beleaguered World Touring Car. There's too many touring cars here.
Okay, let's split it. Previously WTCC, currently WTCR. Swap a letter.
Yeah, that basically. Yep. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But I mean, like you say, the names this year have started to come back into it. Like you say, we've still got Tom Coronel, always a fan's favourite, even if he's not doing brilliantly on track at the moment. James Thompson, a name that's still in it and spans many different generations of World Touring Car, I would say. Also, Mehdi Benani. As well, a guy that again lots of people like. Our own Gordon Shedden, who that's where he ended up, and Rob Huff, again former world champion, is also racing down in the championship this year. He's in 9th at the moment, and Muller and Tarquini, just those two fighting it out at the top of the world. I mean, how old are these guys? Jesus, 60, 70?
Tarquini qualifies for your BTCC OAP question, and
Muller's
for those who haven't answered it yet, yeah, he's not far behind. There are, I think after that, they're the elder statesmen to the series, but they're the best in the world.
Exactly. This is a world championship. It's not. Yeah.
Let's just give a comparison. So in 2018, Gabriele Tarquini's driving a Honda in WTCR. In 1993, he was an Alfa Romeo driver, cutting his teeth in DTM. Before then...
Stuart, was you even born in 1993?
Here we go. Were you a dot?
Yeah, yes, I was. Yes,
oh, okay.
I was born the year he won the BTCC title.
Right. Okay. So there's a hint for how old Stuart is. So let's go back a little bit further. Before he was even a touring car driver, he was in Formula One in the mid-80s. So this guy has a supreme amount of experience and is still taking pole positions and race wins at 65. So,
well, actually, according to Wikipedia, and we know that Wikipedia is never wrong, and I must apologise to Mr. Tarquini. According to Wikipedia, and I will take its word for it, he's only 56.
Yes, Phil's slightly embarrassed now. He said 65, so he doesn't really qualify for the OAP question, does he?
Yeah, no, that was my fault. I suggested he was an OAP because, well, he's just been around forever. And that's not a bad thing, I would like to add, because, we all love Tarquini, and any time, for me anyway, anytime his name gets mentioned, that famous one-liner of Murray Walker, "It's Tarquini," always rings in my head, and will forever. That's literally going to be stuck and lodged in my brain for all of eternity. So,
oh yes, definitely. Just imagine the Alfa Romeo rolling in the background. Memories serve.
Exactly. So, at the top of the WTCR, which I would say is in good health. I
Very.
I would suggest. So all credit to the FIA, to the TCR people involved. Phil, you know the people involved better than I do.
The FIA, WSC, who given permission for TCR to be used by the Championship, and Eurosport Events, who are running WTCR.
Yeah, you've all done a good job so far. Don't mess it up, is what I would say. Please. WTCR, they're going to Ningbo, which is, I understand, in China. And it's the first time for many of the drivers and many people. Is it the first time the championship has been there? Well, I know they've been to China before, obviously. But have they been to Ningbo before? Where is it exactly?
So WTCR has not raced at China before. It'll be the first time for WTCR, because it was the first time it was visited was by WTCC last year. You can find the races online on YouTube. I must admit, I've been watching and researching, and they were two very, very wet races last year. Lots of carnage with the TCR1 cars, lots of crashes, unfortunately. Some very, very difficult conditions for the guys to have coped with. As you would expect, a lot of the drivers that were competing in WTCC last year are racing in WTCR this year, so some will have knowledge of the circuit. It is rather a good circuit, to be honest. There are overtaking opportunities. It's suited really well to touring car action, and with a grid of at least 25 cars. We've yet to find out if there are any wild cards confirmed this weekend to take up to 27. Then it's going to be a lot of action. Track time is going to be at a premium to get a clean lap for qualifying, and it's also, you can expect to see a lot of fights for position as people try and work their way up. I wouldn't say it's difficult to pass. There are plenty of chicanes, some lovely hairpins. The track is designed to allow for overtaking. It's just a case of, with such an equal and hard pushing grid, all racing each other 3 times, you're going to find lots of fights and lots of action, and definitely a bit of strategy as to who can make up places where as well.
We've had a comment flood in as well. By the way, we are live if you are tuned in to us. So hello and good evening. My name is Lester. Phil Kinch is here, and so is Stuart Richards of the Checkered Flag website, journalist, and much more knowledgeable about things like the Clio Cup than I am.
Yes.
No offence.
He is.
But yes, we thought we'd do a live show anyway this evening, just because we just kept putting it off for weeks and weeks and weeks, and thought, right, we're definitely going to do a live show. This is the week it's going to happen. Definitely. And then it didn't happen previously, and then we're definitely going to make it happen this weekend, and here we are. We're live right now, so hello and welcome. A comment flooded in from Matt Acton of Matt Acton Photography as well, who does some stunning pictures, by the way. Check them out. He's on Facebook. Who suggested, regarding going back to our BTCC conversation earlier, about which potential bus pass holding former legend drivers would we want to see back racing at the top, a la Gabriele Tarquini and alike. He suggested, anyway, Smoking Joe Winkelhock.
Oh, yes, definitely.
But I've just Wikipedia'd him and find out that he's only a couple of months older than Gabriele Tarquini. So, he's Joe Winkelhock, 57 years old, Tarquini, 56. Why doesn't I don't know what his situation is, but why doesn't he come back in and start World Touring Car WTCR?
I'd want to see Winkelhock in a BMW though. That's my thing.
Yes, pure
maybe
symphony of talent with Winkelhock and a BMW. There's a reason he's called Smoking Joe, and it's not because of his cigarette habit at the time. Joe Winkelhock in a BMW, amazing.
Could that honestly literally be a thing for 2019 or 2020 maybe?
I was gonna say, if Ricky Collard isn't there next year, get Smoking Joe in.
Oh yeah. There you go. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
He said so.
Good suggestion is what we would say, Matt, from Smoking Joe Winkelhock. If you've got any other suggestions about who might be, maybe we can just widen the search, not just in BTCC, but in WTCR, as it seems to be attracting legendary status drivers who don't seem to have gone away, let alone come back. Such as Mr. Tarquini, Ivan Muller, not of the same age, but there's definitely room, I think, if he's up for it and fit in healthy enough, for Mr. Winklehawk, Smoking Joe Winklehawk in WTCR, let's say.
Definitely.
And why not? So staying with WTCR, because it's not just all about BTCC in them their touring car worlds. Now, there's a name that a lot of people will recognise, not just from, well, I'll tell you, Ma Qinghua, or Ma Qinghua.
Do you know, that's the first name you pronounced correctly and perfectly so far this evening. Congratulations.
Well, it's only because he's been in Formula One briefly.
Oh, well, there you go then. You know, that's some works, doesn't it?
Well, I say he's been in Formula One. He's been in, what hasn't he been in? He's done some World Rallycross driving, amazingly. He's been in Formula E. He's, good God, what else has he done? He's done lots of things. And anyway, he's doing the thing at the home, I suppose, of WTCR.
You're doing well. We're going to have to lay you down and get some rest after this. Obviously, you're working very hard this evening. Yes, so Ma Qinghua is having a go at WTCR. He's stepping in to replace Benjamin Lessen, who has been racing WTCR as a stand-in for Tiago Monteiro so far this season. So Tiago, as a lot of touring car fans or international touring car fans would know, had a very big accident last year in testing with Honda, and it's taken him quite a while to recover from the accident. Some positive news during the break is that he's looking to try and see if he can get back into a race seat and get some race experience before the end of this year. So as the Honda teams head to China for Ningbo this weekend, and then the following weekend they go to the Wuhan street circuit as well. So Ma Qinghua will be representing his country in the second Boots and Ginion car, teammate Tom Coronel, as previously mentioned. He's got, as many WTCC fans will know, he's got previous experience of front-wheel drive cars. He's taken 2 wins for Citroën in the TC1 era, so he's definitely experienced in the fact of giving this a go. But he seems adaptable to most series. You know, he's not afraid to have a go at new series and take on different challenges. So WTCR, and I suppose we're saying that lightly, he throws himself in at the deep end. WTCR will be a new challenge for him, but front-wheel drive touring cars should be familiar. I suppose it's getting used to the characteristics of a TCR car compared to the...
He has raced in whatever wheel drive the Chinese touring cars.
So it'll be front-wheel drive, I think.
Okay, I literally know nothing about the Chinese touring cars.
That's fine.
But yeah, he has raced in that because I googled him last night and checked his history, and his last race win of any kind in any series, I think, was let's just say a long time ago, and he hasn't had too many race wins. But still a name that we like to. He's a nice guy, I think. He's can't say a bad word about him.
No, he's adaptable. He's willing to have a go. Like I said, he was at the World Rallycross events at Silverstone in May when I was there myself, and acquitted himself fairly well in a discipline he's never tried before. So he's done rather well in Formula E, Formula One. We know he's tested and driven, and WTCC for me seems to be his most successful foray so far, being the Citroën driver and taking his 2 wins. So I think it's a case of he'll be learning the track this weekend, learning the cars, modest goals just to see how he goes. The team have full knowledge of the Honda Civic already, so a lot of data there already as far as setups and concerned. So they'll be giving him as much support as possible, as will Tom Coronel as well.
You mentioned about Tiago Monteiro, and there'll be understandably lots of people wanting him to come back and do well and be fully repaired and stuff. Will he actually be back for the future round in when's the one after another Chinese round? But when do we think he'll be back?
I would hazard a guess at Japan, at the Japanese rounds at Suzuka, which take place after the 2 Chinese rounds. So as I said previously, Tiago's looking to get some race experience this year in the TCR cars. He's done several tests while he feels comfortable in the car, and as we well know, he's very experienced with front-wheel drive touring cars. It was health issues and his recovery that was the biggest problem. So I was hazard a guess, potentially you'll see him in the car at Japan. If not, then definitely Mikkel, I would have thought, as that's the last round of the year, because he's adamant he wants to get in the car this year as soon as possible. So it makes sense to me with Ben Lacen moving across and Laren Marching hard to take part in his Chinese races, his home races in WTCR, that you could potentially see Tiago in the Boutsen Junior and Honda in Japan. By the way, if I'm right, that was a guess. Okay, that's all I'm going with.
Well, if you're right, you can tell us the lottery numbers as well. No, I'll
keep those to myself and enjoy the win.
But all the very best to Tiago Monteiro, and hopefully you can be back doing what you do best, racing right up in the right end of the grid in WTCR very soon, for maybe a full season campaign, if that's what you want to do for 2019. Tiago out of action for a long time, but hopefully not for too much longer. Other news as well, Phil, regarding WTCR involving Mr. Schneider.
Yes, so former DTM champion Timo Scheider, who's been very busy this year. He's been taking part in various America's Rallycross and European Rallycross championships for the Munich Motorsport squad, has been signed to complete the season for the team, stepping in to take the seat left vacant by James Thompson. A lot of people, as a bit of history, so James Thompson has been in the car for the first half of the season, and then after Villarreal, the car wasn't running at the Slovakia ring. The pure and simple reason being is that James Thompson's contract was just for the first half of the season only, to see how things went. James has some really good performances, including some podiums as well, so he's firmly acquitted himself as enjoying taking part in the TCR machinery. With regards to Timo, he's as many will know, he's a former DTM champion, so touring cars is not something he's going to have problems getting used to. DTM cars normally are rear-wheel drive. Rallycross cars are normally four-wheel drive, so he's now going to have a go at front-wheel drive touring car racing and become the complete master.
Why not?
Timo's been definitely, let's just say, better in Rallycross circles. He's been enjoying that. So having him in the team along with Yann Leche and Esteban Guerreri is a very good move by the team. They're fighting for the team's championship for the first season of the championship itself. So good move. Experienced driver. I don't think it's going to take him long to get used to the cars. It's not going to take him long to get used to the format of the championship either. And I'm expecting a few surprise performances from him before we get to the end of the season. I think he's going to do really well. A great addition to the series.
Okay. And other news that we need to be updated about?
Adding to that, so Kevin Chekon, who...
Oh, yes.
Kevin Chekon. You do? I see that. A driver you know. We're doing well.
Former GP2 driver.
Very good. So Kevin Chekon was drafted in to take the vacant seat at Team Mulsanne in the Alfa Romeo alongside Fabrizio Giovanardi at the Slovakia ring after Gianni Morbidelli, and the team decided to part ways. Kevin has been confirmed for the rest of the season as well, so he'll be finishing the remaining races both weekends, in China, the race weekend in Japan, and also at Macau as well. He had a pretty good time last time out, considering it was his first foray into touring car racing, and with a front-wheel drive touring car, he was well in the mix and learning a lot from teammate Giovanardi. So again, a learning experience is going to be for Kevin at new tracks, understanding the car, and again, a lot of support from the team. The Alfa Romeo has a popular following, a lot of history in touring car racing, and Team Mulsanne has a big following, not just in world touring cars but also in Italy as well. A lot of support from there. So yes, it's good to see Kevin confirmed into the seat, and seeing how he progresses towards into the year as well.
And there's, I believe, one other piece of news as well.
There is.
Definitely. Cyan Racing.
There is. Yes. Oh, of course. Yes.
Why do we know that name?
How do we? So, where have you heard Cyan Racing before from, Lester?
From a colour? I don't know.
Yes, you would.
Would I? Well, okay.
And a printer as well. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So international touring car fans, fans of WTCC and Volvo. There you go. And I'm waiting for Stuart to get excited because Volvo immediately to me says Rickard Rydell. So go on, go for it, Stuart.
I was heard Cyan Racing. Was it Polestar as well? The Volvo thing.
Yes, that's it. Yes. So there's been an announcement from Cyan Racing that they are building. They're working in conjunction with a Belgian manufacturer called Link & Co. And there is a video that's on the internet that was released last week showing that they're building a car to take part next year. Now, there's been no specific announcement as to what championship it's in. The only clue we have is that a full announcement is going to be made on October the 19th. However, in the meantime, if you watch the video, it's very clear. You can see Ted Bjork in the simulator testing a Volvo at Macau as I believe as a comparison. And also you can see the actual car itself, the Link & Co. 03, I understand it to be, being built what looks like to TCR regulations. So currently I'm hazarding an educated guess that this would be a WTCR entry for next year. And this is definitely something that WTCR boss Francois Ribeiro has alluded to, that he was hoping for more manufacturers to enter. More manufacturer cars to enter, as WTCR is customer racing. Let's clarify that one before somebody shoots me down. So yeah, it's good to see Cyan Racing, very experienced in touring car racing, as we well know. They won the World Touring Car Championship last year with Ted Bjork with the Volvo, and as Stuart said, Cyan Racing, Volvo, Polestar. The history goes back many years and is very successful. So to add to that, very critically, if you're into your clues with WTCR, if you look at the Yvonne Muller Racing Hyundais, they are predominantly white, and down the side of the cars they have 100-0-0-0. The four colours that they've got on the cars are printer colours, and 100% is cyan. So if you didn't know, you do now. Everyone will be looking at the cars.
Conspiracy theorist, you're worse than me, Phil.
Not at all. I know if you would speak. No, not at all. So yeah, there's a hint there again. Like I say, things will be confirmed on October the 19th as to what the full programme will be and what's happening. Last year, when it was alluded to that WTCR was going to come into effect, there was a lot of talk that Volvo were building a TCR car. It seems to be Link & Co. Linking up with Cyan Racing, but on like I say, October the 19th, we will know more. Very interesting video where they fly a drone through the building, and you can see very interesting things. And like I say, looking forward to hearing more, and definitely seeing a new TCR car out there if that's the case.
Yeah, it sounds definitely interesting. And yeah, you were right about Stuart. His eyes lit up.
They did.
There. Possible calendar for 2019. Do we know what might be happening with regards to where the championship's going next year?
So at the moment, there hasn't been a calendar confirmed. However, last year it was left until December when the whole WTCR concepts was announced, and obviously late. A lot of things were done. It's very late. It was all done. Now, my only clue on this, and this is a bit of common sense thinking, and normally this works out pretty well for me. So let's give this another go. So the TCR Guru's common sense thinking, we'll make this a part of the show soon, is that the next FIA World Motorsport Council meeting is on October the 12th. And it is normally at the FIA World Motorsport Council meetings that calendars for their various world championships, regulation changes, sporting regulation changes, etc., are confirmed. So I have no confirmed evidence. This is literally a common sense thinking on my part that hopefully they'll confirm the 2019 WTCR calendar at that meeting. If not, then it will come forward to the next World Council meeting, which I think could be confirmed for December or January, either or. it makes sense to confirm it in October because a lot of teams are involved in the series. There's a lot of interest in WTCR. They're looking to get other makes and models of cars involved as well next year. So giving people as much time as possible, again, like we were saying about British Touring Cars, to get programs in place, sponsorship in place, etc., makes a lot of common sense to me. However, this is motorsport. Sometimes, most of the time, I'm proven wrong, and I'm happy to learn on this one as well. So, yeah, I don't know, like I say, if the calendar is going to change. A lot of the events that have been part of WTCR this year have been a throwback from WTCC, and preliminarily because agreements would have been in place, which will be honoured. So it will be interesting to see if the calendar changes completely, if there are any changes at all, or just a few slight changes to it for next year. But I'm hazarding a guess that we'll hear something after the 12th of October.
Okay, so yeah, we will. Well, I say we. Phil will update you with all the latest goings on and the rumours, the hottest rumours, let's say, with WTCR, the 2019 calendar, whether the writing on the wall does in fact turn out to be Cyan Racing, and whether Yvan Muller and was it? Did you say Ted Bjork? Whether
Ted Bjork, yeah.
Whether they're going to be a thing together next year, and everybody else basically. Just one quick roundup for those who are not listening with their eyeballs about where all the Brits are in the WTCR.
So Rob Huff is having the best time as far as things are concerned. He's inside the top 10 after having being part of the massive crash that was at Villarreal in the Sebastian Loeb Racing Golf with his teammate Mehdi Banani. They had brand new Golfs for Slovakia Ring, and they were heavily hit with balance of performance because Rob has been the more successful drivers of the two over recent events. So he's hoping, and I would have thought we'll have an announcement soon as well before the weekend of a balance of performance break for the Golf. As far as Gordon Shedden is concerned, he's learning to get to grips with the Audi RS3 NOS TCR, a different beast from the NGTC Hondas that he's driven for the past few years. However, he did make it into qualifying 3 for the Super Pole at Villarreal, so did really well on the street circuit and enjoyed some really good action alongside Yvan Muller. So yes, Gordon is getting used to the Audi Sports TCR car and learning as much as possible. Unfortunately, it is just the two Brits. Like I said, James Thompson was taking part in the first part of the season. However, his contract is finished, so it is just Gordon Shedden and Rob Huff that we shall be shouting for the rest of the year. And just a quick note, WTCR will be finishing its series in Macau, and Rob Huff is the Macau master. So, yeah, keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, but Macau is Macau, and nobody's guaranteed to do anything other than crash into a wall or get stuck behind a safety car for the entire race. So yes. Everybody seems to have this universal, amnesia. They come away from Macau and everybody just thinks, oh my God, that was so great, let's do it again next year. But when they're actually there, there seems to be like an endless amount of safety cars and frustrating nonsense causing delays and crashes and pile-ups. But that's kind of why we like Macau in the first place anyway. But
there have been some exciting races. There have been some pretty good exciting races where there haven't been safety cars and there haven't been big crashes. It's very rare, I'll give you that, but it does happen. And when it does happen, it's been pretty exciting.
Indeed, so. Yes, we will, especially for Motorsport Radio as well, which has an interest in all of the racing at Macau this year. The bikes, GT cars, touring cars, the F3 cars. Yeah. We cover it all.
Exactly. It has been really interesting, and it's good to see as well.
Exactly.
It's, like I say, it's a wonderful weekend. It's one I look forward to as a quick note. So come November, should you decide to let us do this live again, because it's quite fun, then I'll definitely be talking about Macau.
I think we should. Yeah, we should. I think because there's so much to talk about, really, we could maybe do a season preview review, and maybe, I don't know, have one massive motorsport radio review of everything, or something. I don't know. Go on. I
was going to say to the viewers, so everyone who's following us live, obviously on social media, Twitter, Facebook, and everything, unless of course you're listening to us on your journey to work tomorrow morning because you've got nothing better to do and you want us to try and cheer you up. Let us know how you think the live show's going, how I'm doing. You probably get a few people going,
love me.
No, it'll be, oh God, is he on there again? Why are they let it back? And also how Stuart's doing. We obviously do our best to cover our fields and enjoy our racing as we do. And
what,
if you're
guys,
enjoying the live shows,
I say this with a certain amount of confidence that I think if you weren't doing too well, you would quickly know about it. Somebody somewhere on the internets will let you know.
It's probably about to melt because I've given them the opportunity. The keyboard warriors, etc. now will be on their way. But yes, if you're listening to us, watching us online, let us know how we're doing. And because I don't know about you guys, I'm enjoying this so far. This is good fun.
It turns out to be pretty interesting when we do a live show, and it's always. I'm glad we decided to eventually do a live show because it just adds a little bit more of unplanned stuff that we didn't plan for, which is always good, I would suggest. So this is Motorsport Radio. My name is Lester. This is the first ever live Touring Car Talk show. Hello and welcome. If you're brand new to not just this show, but Motorsport Radio as well. If you just joined us as a liker, a follower, a listener in the last couple of days, you found us because you heard of or watched a video on a social media thing, then you're more than welcome to stay. We talk about absolutely anything that's interesting. Whether you find that interesting is rather subjective, but again, that's kind of why we like to talk about different things. So we can engage debate as well, because we don't just like people getting in touch with us who agree all the time, because that would be boring, wouldn't it, Phil?
It would, even though Stuart and I seem to have agreed on most things this evening, oddly enough. It's gone rather well, actually.
Okay.
And you're naturally sitting on the fence as well yourself, Lester. So, has anyone disagreed with us? This is the question. Has anyone
we need some. I'm pretty good at disagreeing with people or making people disagree with me. So maybe I could take just as a devil's advocate, and maybe I could just take the opposite opinion of whatever you say. Maybe we could have an argument about it, and we can maybe we can get involved in a paddock fight.
So. I like that. Yeah, that was good. Yeah.
But yes, why I mentioned that is because there was a fight in the paddock in the TCR Europe Championship. We'll tell you more about that in just a quick second. It's Motorsport Radio. It's the first ever Touring Car Talk show. My name is Lester, Phil Kinch, and Stuart Richards are both here.
Motorsport Radio.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Ray from the Kawasaki Racing Team.
Hi, this is Nick Hamilton.
Hi, I'm Jamie Chadwick.
Hey everyone, I'm Bradley Smith.
Hi, I'm Julian Zarco.
Hi, I'm Bradley Wright.
Hi, I'm Seb Morris.
Hi, I'm Dan Linfoot from Honda Racing, British Superbike team, and this is Motorsport Radio.
This is Nick Hamilton, and this is Motorsport Radio.
I got there in the end. Thank you very much, Nick. My name is Lester, and yes, Phil Kinch here with us. Good evening, Phil, of the Checkered Flag website.
Hello, sir. How are we doing?
And also Mr. Stuart Richards, also here as well, sat proudly in front of his tube map of the. Is it the wrong grammar to say tube if it's the London Underground?
It's all good. It's all good.
Did I
Underground, the tube, London Underground.
Did I offend nerds? Sorry. How dare you? Anyway, I like it.
Go on.
I was going to say, they'd probably be more offended by you saying nerds.
Nothing wrong with being a nerd. I think everybody here qualifies as being a nerd in some point.
No, I happily admit publicly to being a geek. I classify nerds as being
different. You've got to stand in the corner there if you're a geek.
Okay.
Only nerds allowed here.
Just to point out, I just want to say, every time we've had Stuart on here, when we've done either a recorded show, a Monday night show, or this, the tube flag is always there. The underground flag is always there. This is Stuart's thing. Along with his wonderful, and like I say, I'm going to encourage you, sir, more and more of the headline jokes that we've had, such as Carry On Clio earlier.
I just want to say, did I get away with the one about the Tour of Victory?
Yeah, I think you did. I think you did. I'm going to have to go back and read.
You did, because I didn't even notice that one.
Because I've used it twice now, and I haven't had anything back from either you or Vince or anything like that.
What did you say?
I think I've gotten
away
away with it.
You have.
It's a use of the latter name of their car, the RS. Then I'll use a bit of a I'll let people to find it themselves.
Yeah,
Right
Stuart's got a talent. If you go and look at the checker flag and you see his British touring car articles, Stuart has a talent of winding music or films or analogies, anything like that, into his titles of his articles. It's actually quite an impressive talent. I'm not even going to try and compare. He does it really well. So if you go and have a look, find Stuart on the checker flag website just to give it a bit of a plug, and you'll see exactly what I mean. And hopefully we'll have many more of these during more touring car talk shows.
We will see.
I'm going to say my proudest one was James Dorlan in the Clio Cup. He won 2 races in April at Donington Park, and I thought there's a great headline I can use. I hope he wins the next 2 races next month, and he did. And I could use the Dorlan wins of May, and I was so proud of that one.
See, this is what you can look forward to. This talent right here. Honestly, this guy is awesome. So trust me, more of this will be coming your way, along with the Underground Map.
Yes, Mr. Stuart Richards, world famous cunning linguist.
I'll go with that.
Yes. On now to our other touring cars, or still more touring cars, other than BTCC.
More?
I don't believe it.
On a touring car talk?
Well,
we're going to have to watch this. You know, I can see the valve already steamy into the red. You know, it's not going to cope much longer with this.
Yeah, and just as we talk about other than BTCC, now we have no more listeners. Okay.
That's gone well. So as it's just us guys.
So yeah, TCR Europe happened. Was it at the week? It was at the weekend, and it was at Monza, and. Well, for those who don't know about what happened, we'll get to what happened on track in just a moment. I'm sure Phil has a binder full of information about what happened in the races. But to be perfectly honest with you, it's not really that piqued my interest. As soon as I'd heard about what happened off track and in the paddock, that seemed to raise my interest and my certain eyebrows anyway, because there was, unfortunately, we've got to be very careful in how we say this, because unfortunate things had happened, and we don't want to say anything out of turn, and we don't want to libel or slander anyone, so I suppose I would just leave it to you, Phil, to just explain exactly what happened to whom and why.
I was going to say, I'm happy you're deciding to take the less controversial path on this. That's much appreciated.
Only because I know they're tuned in.
Yeah, exactly. They know where we are. There's on social media after the 2 TCR Europe races at Monza, there was a video of 2 different drivers having a fight. I can't really be put any other way. After the races took place,
which drivers?
There are. So this is championship leader Mikael Athkanar, who drives the PCR Sports Cupra TCR, and also Dusan Borkovic, who drives for Team Taro Competition in one of their Hyundai i30s. So I'll be honest, there's an investigation underway. We know that's very clear with the authorities as to what happened, you know, how this came about. The very short details I'm going to go into is that there was a fight between Borkovic and Athkanar's team members, and from there there has been some fallout with this in the shape that Borkovic, due to his actions, has been disqualified from the entire Monza weekend. So any points scored in qualifying in the races he's lost completely, which has affected his championship position. He's dropped to 3rd of the championship after being the main challenger to Athkanar. Not only that, there is also, like I said, there's an investigation underway with the authorities as to what's taken place. Dusan himself has given a public apology today to the sport, to the events that's taken place, which I feel, you know, is very good of him to do. To be honest, any fans in any sport, we don't like to see, you know, the participants, the teams, the players, the drivers, the riders, whoever's involved. We don't like seeing this sort of thing happen. However, motorsport, as any other sport, is a very high-pressured environment. There's a lot of pressure to succeed. If you're involved in title battles, if you're involved in chasing championships, it can be a very pressurized situation to be in. Dusan has a lot of support, especially from his wife Adriana, and also Mikel has a lot of support from his Spanish fans as well. There's a lot. A lot sort of happened. There's been some contact on track, which we'll allude to later on during the races, and conversations after the races in the paddock has led to this unfortunate incident. So there's an investigation underway. Dusan has apologised for his part in it, and we await the outcome to see if there's any further action on what's happened.
With that, we're not going to have a discussion about it because we just thought it was as Phil explained, it was just that, and we're going to respect the Borkovich's request that we sort of put this to bed. It's not something that the championship particularly wants us to dwell on or promote, and we won't.
It's a general feeling all round, to be honest. The championship, the Borkovich's, Athkanar, everyone involved in the series, it's happened. Everyone's given their side of things. There's an official investigation happening, and basically now, that's where it's going to be left.
With that, we will talk about the on-track action that happened at the weekend, starting off in race number 1, Phil.
So, Monza, the Temple of Speed, and as Stuart will attest to from the various races he's probably seen there as well, high-speed on-track action, normally plenty of slipstreaming, overtaking, and if anything, when you put touring cars at Monza, that's normally the case, except you also see lots of bodywork flying, people cutting chicanes, cutting curves, etc., and lots of gravel flying as you're all trying to take places. To put it in a nutshell, Jean-Carl Vernet puts his Audi on pole. Yes, he takes part in TCR Europe as well as WTCR. He's doing rather well. Basically, once he got past Mikel Athkanar, who was on the front row alongside him, Vernet was able just to pull away and take a very dominating win. Now, two drivers who weren't expecting to do well at Monza over the weekend were the two KCMG with Hell Energy Racing drivers of Josh Files and Attila Tashi, namely because of things like balance of performance adjustments, and also the fact of, as well, Monza being a high-speed circuit, they weren't expecting to do too well. However, it was the case that after Vernet taking the win and Athkanar taking second place, that Files was able to take third place on the podium, something he admitted after the first race on Saturday he was actually quite surprised at doing. It's great to see Josh, getting up the front. I'll be honest, I sort of liken him to Andy Prio, who was Britain's sort of best hope alongside with Rob Huff of winning titles in WTCC as it was. So Josh seems to be our sort of biggest hope in TCR Europe for getting the Brits up there and getting the interest involved. So he did a really great job in race 1, and as far as things were concerned, along with Attila, who took 4th place behind him, the Hondas did really well to be able to get along and keep up with. I think it's fair to say the the Volkswagen Audi group cars. Vauxhall Audi, I don't know where that's coming from.
You've started something.
We're live. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Vauxhall Audi, that'll get me shot. He did a really great job to be able to get himself up there. Lots of overtaking happening. Like I say, a lot of curbs being clipped, gravel being sent flying, chicanes being cut. But it was some great action to see. Driving standards, something we can get onto later with regards to that side of things. But yeah, race 1 was definitely very exciting and closed up the championship. It worked out well for Vernet, who himself had the plan of knowing the Audi would be good because of its saloon shape at Monza, that he would be basically aiming for pole. He got pole position, aiming for a race 1 win. He got that as well, and trying to get as many points out of the weekend as possible to get back into the championship fight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. And so leaving Monza then, the championship, as you mentioned, Mikel, how do you say his name?
Athkanar.
Yeah, that.
So the Z becomes TH if you're going to pronounce it.
Getting everybody's name wrong today.
No, don't worry. Look, I'll send you a nice big Word document. Names for Leicester to learn for next time. and all the pronunciations in it. I'll even go Google it.
What I usually do on shows, I just do the English thing of just going, it's Mikel Azona.
No. Let's not do that. Let's go with Phil's pronunciation, because Phil listens to the commentators and copies them.
Fair enough. But I usually have to do these once every show at least. But generally, apologies if I did get anybody's name wrong. It's not personal. I'm just not good with names. So, Mikel, who's leading the championship at the moment, we'll just call him that.
Mikel Azcona, yes. Yes, that's it.
And there'll be, so far regarding the incident in the paddock, there was no, am I right in thinking that there's no disciplinary action coming his way at the moment?
No, that's right. As far as things are concerned,
so
it's
nothing
just
in terms of points being deducted or anything?
No, it's just Dusan Borkovic that has been affected with the incident. Just to confirm what I've actually just said about the top finishing order for race 1. Jean-Carl Venet winning, Mikel Azcona second, Josh Foals third. I've got it slightly wrong, so apologies on this. Maxime Potti was actually fourth in the Volkswagen Golf, and with Dusan being removed from the results, Attila Tashi was actually fifth, not fourth, as I made the mistake. So it's going well. Everybody
stripped of your crown of TCR guru.
I was going to say the guru, yeah.
You see. No, actually, no. I'm not going to allude to that story about the guru title. People make mistakes. I'm human.
To be honest, I mean the amount of gaffes I make on a daily on every single show. I mean, I can't talk about that. I can't even joke about it. To be honest. Hi, Mikel. So
you're going to have this right for next time in October, I can tell you.
Probably not. It's going to be a thing.
Just a quick sort of roundup of race 2 to give you an idea of that. So race 2 sort of finished in a slightly different order, but again, apart from there was a lot more action actually in race 2, with a lot happening. So Jean-Carl Venet taking the win, so he got his perfect weekend, 55-point win from his TCR Europe weekend last weekend. Josh Foals took second place. So Josh, I know from reading online, was even more surprised at that one. So he was really happy to get 2 podiums. Unfortunately, he's not in the championship fight, which would be something great to see. But he's proving, the new Honda is worthy of fighting with the rest. Attila Tashi took third place to complete the podium for KCMG. Maxime Potti was fourth, and Mikel Azcona dropped down to fifth. I'm also going to mention the Brits as well. So there was Reece Barr takes part in TCR Europe as a teammate to Dusan Borkovic, and Reece Barr, who Leicester knows as
former mini challenge driver.
See, you're doing well. This is good. He's got one. Actually, no, that's 2 drivers you recognise, but we're doing well. Reece had a difficult weekend. Monza, there was an engine change required that put him in the back of the race for race 1. And in race 2, he finished in 9th place, fighting back through the field. However, I'm also going to mention another name which TCR UK fans will notice, which was Ollie Taylor. Made his debut in TCR Europe last weekend. Ollie announcing after Croft that he'd be taking part in the last 2 rounds of TCR Europe with the Pyro Motorsport Honda. Ollie did really well. Suffered a little in qualifying. He was midfield, which put him back a little bit and gave him some hard work. However, he fought through in race 1 to 10th position, and then he's also fought through in race 2 to 10th position as well. So he's taken a couple of points for his efforts. Really got mixed in, and he was racing with former BTCC driver Link Fabrizio Giovanardi in the Alfa Romeo, who was having his TCR Europe debut on home ground. Ollie got stuck in. He was having a really good time and really enjoying himself. So it'll be good to see how he goes in Barcelona next month as well. But yes, definitely an exciting couple of races last weekend. Unfortunately, marred slightly by the incident that's taken place. But if anything, the championship itself is looking poised to be fought between Mikel Azcona, Jean-Carl Venet, and also with Dusan Borkovic still in the hunt, but slightly back.
Final round of TCR Europe is in Barcelona on the 21st. Of October.
Yep.
So not long to go now. Your opinions Phil, of the 2018 TCR Europe season so far?
If you wanted good old-fashioned touring car racing, where they're not afraid to bash doors and handles, see wing mirrors flying, bumpers falling off of cars, then it's been the series to watch. It has actually been really exciting to see. For those that aren't big TCR fans, TCR Europe was just a one-off event for the last couple of years, where drivers from all around the world, European events, foreign events, etc., could take part in 2 races over a weekend to see who was the best. This year they've made it into a series, and I think it's actually a great move. 7 events taking place, and so far the action at each round of the racing has been good and close, fought hard. There's been a lot of penalties handed out for either things like track limits or a lot of contact, which as Stuart will know as touring car follower as well. So, you've got cars half alongside trying to pass each other, turning into each other, side by side, a slight touch on the back, anything you can get away with as a touring car driver. There's been a lot of that action in TCR Europe, and it's been one of the big talking points during the year about driving standards brought down. But at the same time, the stewards have been quite hard with some of the penalties that have taken place as well. So it's been a good series to watch. I've really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to covering it next year, and hoping it's either going to expand from 7 events, or even if it stays at 7 events. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens there. It's one I'd recommend following if you're a touring car fan. If you want to watch something different from BTCC or DTM, definitely worth giving it a go, because it is just good old-fashioned touring car racing with TCR cars, and some of the best guys in Europe racing each other really hard. Like I say, Josh Files has been taking part all year. He's had some bad luck, unfortunately, and isn't in the title hunt. Josh is one of the best drivers out there, arguably. If you ask the fans, if you ask social media, he should be in WTCR and taking on the best in the world. So it's driving standards have been a big point, but hopefully, like I say, it's not affected the racing too much. Penalties have been handed out as and where they've needed to be, but it is good hard racing from guys. You've got a range of budgets from some of the best teams in Europe. For example, Team Target Competition. WRT, who run the Audi for Jean-Carl Vernet, down to, and I'm going to mention this guy because he's absolutely brilliant with everything he does, Stian Paulsen, who drives a Cupra TCR, does a lot of social media work. You can find him online, does a lot of vlogs. I want to say he's almost a one-man band. He's driver and team manager all in one go. Really, really good guy to follow. Very small team on a string budget, and he's taken a podium this year, which has been a really, really good thing for him. That got a lot of following and a lot of congratulations from people that he really deserved it. So driving standards aside, it's been a good series to watch, but it has definitely been something that a lot of people have spoken about.
Yeah, definitely, and I would say probably just add to that and say that. Certain things that happen not on track are not always bad in terms of the publicity that it attracts. It's not always necessarily a bad negative publicity isn't always bad publicity, if that makes sense.
Not always, no. And like I say, with a lot of motor racing series, you watch nowadays, race results get affected after with penalties. So what you see finishing on screen doesn't always seem to be the case. You've got to catch it up later. But at the same time, if drivers want good, hard, fair racing, touring cars have lots of panels that can be bent and pushed. So you're always going to get something negative, out of a positive weekend of racing. And
of course, we want to see characters and personalities, which is exactly, it sounds like, what we had at the weekend at Monza in the TCR Europe. For good or for bad, and from a fan's point of view, it's kind of what we want to see. We want to see people doing that sort of thing. I know nobody else wants to see, nobody involved in the championship wants to see this sort of thing, but fans, I'd have to side with the fans every time. And
as you're going to get, and as I've seen, I'll be honest, I've seen both sides. Athanar fans, Borkovic fans. Everyone's had their own points of view to give as far as the incident's been concerned. As far as the racing's been concerned, I think the biggest thing I've seen is the amount of congratulations that Josh Files has had online. He wasn't expecting to get a podium. He got 2. And if anything, there's been a lot of goodwill towards Josh in the fact, he took something away from the weekend that arguably, he shouldn't have done. So, he's definitely one to watch. He's definitely a wild card. He's not in the title fight, so he could just go hell for leather. And I'm expecting more at Barcelona. So, Josh, if you are watching this evening, congratulations, sir. Good job, well done. And we'd like, hopefully a win. If you could arrange that in Barcelona, that would be a great end to the season.
No pressure. And talking about Josh Files, and you mentioned he should potentially be... he should actually be in the world WTCR. Talking about one driver who is doing both is Jean-Carl Vernet.
Very good. I'm impressed. That's 3. We're doing well.
Now he's in the position where, let me go back and have a quick look at the standings here. He is actually in the position where he is in TCR Europe. He is lying 2nd, and in the WTCR he is in 5th at the moment, and not that far away from the lead. Could it be possible for him to actually do the almost unthinkable and win WTCR and TCR Europe?
I'll tell you what, if he does, that will be a feat. But reading comments recently from Vernet, he's very confident that he could do this.
I'm sure he is.
He is very confident. WRT, Audi customer team are well known to touring cars fans and also sports car fans as well. Are doing really well with. Last year they had the Volkswagen Golf, the last couple of years I should say. They moved to the Audi RS3, and they are definitely making sure it's happening as far as getting the car competitive and moving it forward. And Vernet seems to be the man most likely out of all of the Audis entered. So as far as things are concerned there, TCR Europe, yes, I could see him winning the title if he has a good weekend at Barcelona. If the car, he's able to adapt it to the Grand Prix track really well. WTCR, that's going to be a bit more of an ask, but at the same time, he's proven the car. He's taken race wins at circuits he probably shouldn't have done. So if he has good weekends, at both of the rounds in China, the rounds in Japan, and also at Macau, it's quite possible you could see him.
A Macau showdown.
Both titles. Exactly, and as everyone says, if you follow Macau, anything can happen at Macau, and it usually does.
Hey.
As we know. It's quite possible he could lift both titles. I would be really impressed because he's last year's TCR International champion, and again he worked hard to secure that title as well. So I think it's on the cards. We could see Jean-Carl Vernet as TCR Europe Series champion and FIA World Touring Car Cup champion as well.
That would be a feat indeed. So yes, one final thing, if you could tell us very quickly, because we don't want to keep people too long and talk about too much stuff, and have it appear that we're entirely self-indulgent, because we're not much. But just tell us very quickly. Ollie Taylor, you mentioned earlier, was a wild card appearance recently. Where will he be in 2019? And could he actually do better than what he did do previously?
So Ollie, as we know, is a title protagonist in TCR UK, and he has a chance, a much better chance than he had of possibly taking the first ever TCR UK title. Ollie has done some research, I think it's safe to say, and was reported recently at looking at both TCR Europe next year as a possibility, as a full-time entry, and also TCR Germany as well. He's looking at. I'd love to see him, should he win the TCR UK title, and I'm not ruling that out because the last couple of rounds have shown we've had interesting outcomes. I'd love to see him, if he won the title, come back and defend the title in the UK. I think that would be great, but I know he's looking further afield. He's looking for pushing the limits with Pyro, with the car, pushing himself to try and get further out there. So if it means that he looks further afield outside of TCR UK, as we well know, drivers, teams, make decisions, budgets, sponsors, etc., on where they feel they are best placed. So if he has a go at TCR Europe, it would be great to see a full-time Brit in the series next year.
Reece Barr has attempted that
as well as exactly. So if Reece comes back, that would be even better. It's great to see the Brits abroad taking on the best in Europe. So seeing Ollie in TCR Europe next year as a full-time entry would be great. And the same if he was to go and have a go at TCR Germany as well. Josh Files, as we've already mentioned, he's a double champion from TCR Germany and 2 consecutive years. So it's a very competitive series. It's had grids ranging from 40-odd cars down to I think about 28 this year has been the largest grid so far. So a very competitive TCR series, and a lot of people see that as one of the biggest series to go and cut your teeth into. So if you're competitive there, you're almost ready to have a go at Europe. I'd like to see him back in the UK. If he's not, then you're potentially looking at TCR Germany or Europe as the options he's looking at with the team. And as I've said before on social media, it's going to be a long winter and an interesting winter as far as TCR UK is concerned, and TCR in general. It just seems to make leaps and bounds over the winters, and seeing how 2019 stands out will be an interesting one.
Exactly, yes. And we, on the Touring Car Talk show here on Motorsport Radio, will love to be back doing more of this if Stuart and Phil agree. And maybe we can even get some race drivers on. Maybe grab them, bring them on, do a live interview, maybe a live Q&A with them and grill them.
That would be interesting.
Yes, so Doosan, you're more than welcome to come on anytime.
and Josh. Let's mention Josh.
Yes,
we give Josh a plug.
Yes.
Let's get Josh on as well.
And Reece as well. Well,
and Reece, yep.
Should we get Giovanardi on? Giovinazzi, Yvan Muller. Let's get him on. Talking about some of the old. Just going back before we actually go, and we are going soon. I promise. Okay. Just talking about, because we have had Stuart, unbeknownst to you, listener, has been suggesting a few things about a previous conversation that we had regarding potential gentleman drivers, let's say.
I'm just having a look. There are some very gentleman drivers
and,
on the list.
We'll let you explain, because you were racking your brains earlier about who may be potential. This is going back to the question that I asked, which was, who would we like to see come back and race competitively? Who's, let's say, pushing on a bit in age terms, given that there's quite a few dominating in the World Touring, the WTCR at the moment. So Stuart, who did you suggest?
Well, I was thinking of sort of like the V8 supercars drivers in Australia, because most of those drivers raced until their 50s, and that was early 90s, so they're obviously over the 60-year-old threshold now. And I imagine most of them, you've obviously got Dick Johnson, who's now a team owner. He'd probably love to come back. You've got Larry Perkins. I know he raced in Formula One. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm going to go with you on that. I didn't know that, if that's the case.
And you've got John Bow, Glenn Seaton. I don't think he's over 60 yet, but he'll be a great person to come back. And Russell Ingall, they will be fantastic drivers. And I think about how old they were when they retired.
Well, Russell Ingall is only 54. He's actually younger than Giovanardi.
And obviously Peter Brock, but obviously he said he's no longer with us, but he raced until he was over 60, and if he got asked to do so. That was my first thought when you were talking about Yvan Muller and Gabriele Tarquini. I was thinking, the Australian supercars driver, they're doing Bathurst thousands in their 50s, so obviously they'll come back in a heartbeat.
Which, I'll be honest, for me, that's an achievement in itself, because we are, if you're a touring car fan, your international touring cars. Bathurst is an impressive race to watch. It's a phenomenal race, and it's a big tick in the box in your career. So, as Stuart says, if these guys are sitting there doing it in their 50s, anyone, could come back and have a go. It's impressive stuff.
Yeah, doing any motorsport in your 50s is pretty good.
Also, I want to get this out of the way early, but something about me, my favourite ever touring car is the Ford EB Falcon, as driven by Dick Johnson in around about 93, 94.
Very nice.
Do you agree? Let us know. Put your comments in the comments box below. It doesn't matter if we're not live, but we still welcome your comment anyway. And hello to everybody who has tuned in on this first ever live touring car talk show here on Motorsport Radio. Hello to James Hinton, who joined the party also. It says hello, he waved hello. Hi to Andrew Popplewell, who also said hi. Matt Acton gave a good suggestion earlier regarding which OAP/gentleman driver might do well. Who we'd like to see come back and race properly. He suggested Smoking Joe Winkelhock earlier on. And I think I was the only one who suggested... which touring car driver was it now? John Cleland, yes. That's my old Alzheimer's.
We'll let you have John. Yeah, that's fine. That's exactly. Okay.
All right, so that has really been it for the first ever live touring car talk show here on Motorsport Radio. Don't forget, you can download this show in either a visual download. It's on the Apple podcast thing, whatever it's called now. You can just search Motorsport Radio or the visual. You get a choice between the visual version or the audio version to download. I know, right? So considering that we do still do these to a radio spec, just in case you don't want to really look at us, you can also download the audio version and take it with you, maybe on your way to work or maybe on your way to Brands Hatch this weekend to enjoy the finale of the BTCC, which will be won by Stuart?
Stephen Jelly. No, by the fire.
Oh, I love that. Brilliant. I love it.
Okay. Championship, as I say, Head, Turkington, Hart, Ingram.
Okay. And Phil?
Oh, Hart, Ingram, Head, Turkington. I'm going to swap because I can't disagree.
I also said as well in my comment, left leg, Tom Chilton.
Do you know what? And if that comes off, your left leg is suddenly going to become very popular. Picking the British Touring Car Champion, if that's the case.
As much as I do like Tom Chilton, and and as I don't see it happening, to be perfectly honest, nothing against Tom Chilton, as I've already prefaced that by saying I actually quite like him. Anyway, we'll see what happens. Action all live on ITV4 on Sunday. Check it out. And will we be back again next week? I think it'd be rude not to.
I think it would be rude again not to. I think we should come back. If you are interested, just to, like I say, you said the plug at the BTCC races. If you're interested in the WTCR races, to give them a quick plug as well. Free practice 1, 2, qualifying and race 1 on Saturday will be live on the FIA WTCR /Oscaro Facebook page. They do that for all their Saturday races during the year, and then qualifying for races 2 and 3 on Sunday will be live on Eurosport if you have it, or if you have Eurosport Player as well.
Exactly. And thank you very much once again to Phil Kinch, who you can see his articles on the Checkered Flag website, and also to Mr. Stuart Richards as well. Thank you guys for coming on. This has been a Motorsport Media production for Motorsport Radio. My name is Lester. Thank you very much. And I suppose we'll just say we'll see you again next week, really. Not much else to say, but good luck to Mr. Turkington.
Hi, I'm Callan O'Keefe, and this is Motorsport Radio.
Motorsport Radio.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Ray from the Kawasaki Racing Team.
Hi, this is Nick Hamilton.
Hi, I'm Jamie Chadwick.
Hey everyone, I'm Bradley Smith.
Hi, I'm Joel Anzacco.
Hi, I'm Bradley Wright.
Hi, I'm Seb Morris.
Hi, I'm Dan Linfoot from Honda Racing, British Superbike team, and this is Motorsport Radio.